we have Bob Iger, who conducted an interview with GMA, or Good Morning America, actually on the morning of the 70th anniversary of Disneyland. I don't know if it was recorded before and then played on the day. I think that was the case. But here you go. Let's go ahead and examine this right here. I think we should be okay. We can hope. Here we go. Let's see what Bob Iger has to say.
How do you balance respecting all the nostalgia and the classic iconic characters and stories while also plotting a future path?
Well, you used the right word when you said respect. I'm a big believer in respecting the past and understanding the core values of, what created this. I'm a big believer in respecting the past. Respecting the past. Respecting the past.
Okay. All right.
Oh my gosh.
Before
Erica's really refraining here. Oh.
Well, I mean, apparently that's what he's saying there, Erika. Come on. I'm a big believer in respecting the past. Wow, that's really something when you have so much of Walt Disney World being destroyed actively right now. That's
the Muppets would like to know your location.
He's willing to say that while he's sitting in Disneyland, which, fairly well preserved, I guess. I don't know. I'd love for him to have that interview in front of the current walls set up at Rivers of America and see if he'd say the same.
Yes.
I'm a big believer in respecting the past, respecting the past, respecting the past, respecting the past. I'm a big believer in respecting the past, respecting the past.
If I heard that response, I would just sit there and laugh. I'd get fired because I'd sit there and laugh and fire back. That's funny because, and then just rip him a few new buttholes.
That would be must-see TV. But guys, what I think they need to do is we need to get one of those people that are like super good at, editing with like meat and stuff. They need to like green screen this backdrop. And while he's talking, just have like a montage of all the rides that have been closed from Dinosaur, Muppets, Rivers of America, just flashing behind him as he says that quote.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in respecting the past, respecting the past, respecting the past, respecting the past.
Respect for the past. It's really respect for the past. It's really, really something right there. It's just, I wouldn't have used those words, especially now, especially when, a lot of people, I mean, maybe that goes for the Disneyland crowd, but that does not play well with the Walt Disney World crowd for sure, which happen to be the majority of your Disney park enthusiasts right there. But let's go ahead and continue with what he has to say. Here we go. Let's see here. Make sure no audio is playing. Good.
This. But I'm also a big believer, as was Walt, in continuing to innovate and continuing to recognize that the world does not stay the same. There's another world out there somewhere into the future that you also have to step into with your own imagination. And he said Disneyland will never be completed as long as there's imagination left in the world. And in fact, Disneyland is not completed. We're building now an Avatar land and bringing Coco here and expanding it in very, very ambitious ways. And that's exactly what he would have done. Very, very ambitious ways. Very, very ambitious ways. Ambitious ways.
What do you think?
Exactly.
I'm sorry. The truth is, we don't know what Disney really would have done because you are so confined to such a small space in Disneyland, at least in regards to Disneyland. Nobody really knows. Disney World, however, as it's been stated over and over again, you have the blessing of size. Disneyland doesn't have that. And anything he touches is just half done. The quality isn't there. And that's me being really nice with my words, by the way. You can read in between the lines.
Bob Iger does not visit Disney World that often. Yes, he has been there on occasion, but I don't think that for him, there is literally any focus whatsoever on Disney World, which is odd because it's the #1 theme park destination in the globe for worldwide travel. It has attracted people from all over. We have tons of visitors from Saudi Arabia, from Brazil, from Europe, from even from China, from Japan, people come here to see the American park. And when they do, it's typically Walt Disney World a lot more frequently than it is Disneyland. And we have the resort space. Eisner was smart. He built up the resorts. There's like, I don't know, 50,000 rooms. There's so many resorts. I will tell you, and a lot of the locals feel this way. We actually enjoy spending more time hanging out at the resorts here at Disney World than the parks. Often, it's the parks that they have hurt so badly at Walt Disney World. Epcot, even though there's been that downgrade, I see Epcot as a place where it's very possible to fix stuff. Unlike Hollywood Studios. Hollywood Studios, they destroyed so much to put in Galaxy's Edge and Toy Story Land that I don't think we'll ever get that wonder back. What they did with Galaxy's Edge is so bizarre to me because there's nothing to me that when you walk in there that makes you feel like you're in a Star Wars movie versus how I felt last night when I was at Hogsmeade in Islands of Adventure. And you look around and you're like, every little detail, I'm like, this is what it would be like to be in Harry Potter's world. And it's such a difference where Galaxy's Edge feels like a multi-millionaire had an idea to play around and didn't actually have the rights to Star Wars. So he just made his own version of a fan fiction Star Wars land. And it's, I don't know, that's Iger's leadership to me. It continuously falls short.
I'm a big believer in respecting the past and understanding the core values of what created this. But I'm also a big believer, as was Walt, in continuing to innovate and continuing to recognize that the world does not stay the same. There's another world out there somewhere into the future.
That the world does not stay the same. The problem with that is it's a misinterpretation. He's taking that and pushing this narrative on progress without using the word progress and being progressive, because nowadays that word is now a trigger word. So the company has learned how to use their words wisely and carefully, which we already know that anyways, because we've figured out, how they operate.
Sure.
But it's insulting. Yes, the world does change, but the problem is that you are changing so much of the company on the entertainment and park side that it is completely overshadowing the founder, who you claim you love, who you claim you respect. But I'm sorry, the proof is in the pudding. You don't need, especially on Disney World, I can't really speak to California, but in Florida, you really have no excuses to be replacing things that Walt had his hand on. His DNA is on it. He walked on that land. He purchased that land. I don't care at what point he died, before or after the Florida project was finished or not. The point is, his hands are there too, just as much as California. But for whatever reason, they want to pick favorites, and Disneyland always gets the special treatment and Disney World gets overlooked. And I think I've figured out why, at least in recent years. Because in the name of not wanting to be political, well, you know what? You really know how to be a stubborn brat, where you go into your office and you pout and all you want to do is, well, I don't like Florida. I don't like DeSantis. So I'm sorry, but this is just kind of where my mind goes. I feel like it's being done intentionally just because he's got something crawling up his rear end with the state of Florida. I think he's still bitter over it. He's annoyed and he's just doing whatever he wants. He doesn't care. It has nothing to do with money. It's just his ego.
Just because he lost over and over and over and over again in the state of Florida.
Yeah, and he can't get over it. And now we're seeing the mess that he's creating just because that's kind of what it seems like. I could be wrong, but it seems like he's just throwing a tantrum and being very passive aggressive. And in that passive aggressive behavior, we're seeing these decisions come out of Florida. And Florida, yeah, Disney World is really getting, compared to Disneyland, it's getting really bad with every decision they're making.
Let me counter that, Erika. Let me counter that with the fact that while that's happening at Walt Disney World, there is another company that is stepping up to replace all of that fun.
Yeah, I know, and then that's a consequence. Yeah, and then there's the consequence to that, because of his ego, and I'm sorry, but it's just what it looks like, and this is what I've been observing for a long time. Is it seems like it's like he wants to destroy what's in Florida because he hates Florida. And why does he hate Florida? Well, do we really need to go down that political rabbit hole? No, we don't. But that's just what it seems like. That at least those are the optics I read. And I could be, I'm hoping I'm wrong. Maybe he's just, the village idiot, just making dumb decisions. But to me, it seems like there's more to his decisions than just, I think this will make money. No, I think it's not going to make money. And I think you want to hurt tourism in Florida because you got an issue. You got a chip on your shoulder.
Well, to be fair, he has not hurt tourism in Florida. We know for a fact.
Well, no, but in his mind, in his hubris, he thinks Disney is the say-all, end-all, be-all of money and tourism, and he doesn't even pay attention to the freaking facts that are in front of him, like his own stocks, that are all over the place. They haven't been consistent for the last 4 years. They've lost more value than anything. But that doesn't, nothing to see here.
He rang the bell. He knows
that. He rang the bell.
Ring the bell. Look, all I'm saying is that in Orlando, tourism is up everywhere in Orlando except Walt Disney World, where it happens to be.
Walt Disney, yeah.
That is an absolute
But he don't care
fact.
about that.
So he's only shooting himself in the foot by doing that, or in his company, which is not wise when it does come to the stock.
Well, it only speaks to his narcissism.
Well, that's true. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because I see him in this interview and he's finally learned how to say all the right things and look the right way. But behind the scenes, those words, his actions over his tenure as CEO do not match the words that he's saying. And, that's never good. To see that kind of hypocrisy.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.